Right, Austin, we have some questions for you from Twitter around the Rugby World Cup. Okay. And we will focus in, to start with, I think, on the England selection for their squad, and obviously there's a cull coming up shortly. This question comes from @RBurnett348. Who do you think should be England's first choice backline for the World Cup?
It's quite a difficult one, but I think 9 and 10 pick themselves, Ben Youngs and George Ford. And then I think the centres will probably be Burrell and Joseph. And then you get out onto the wings and then it gets a lot more tricky. At fullback I think Mike Brown, provided his noggin is okay, will play. And then on the wings, I think Watson might be in trouble on the right wing. They could end up losing his place to Ashton. I think Ashton might actually start. Having said that, he might get called at the end of this week, so we'll have to wait and see. I don't think, actually, Watson won't get dropped because he can play 15 as well, so he'll stay in the squad. So let's go with Watson on the right wing, and on the left wing, probably Jack Nowell.
Okay, so I think today, Lancaster's described Johnny May as the outstanding performer from their camp.
Okay.
So...
I've just changed my mind after Johnny May on the left wing, but the big question about Johnny May was he missed all those tackles in the Autumn International, scored a great try, played very well actually for Gloucester in the after missing out in the Six Nations. Like Stuart said, anyone who has a fantastic camp can make a big difference, and Johnny May will get his opportunities in those warm-up games, but if he starts missing tackles again, it's okay putting those tackles in training when not everyone's 100%, but when you get the chances on the wing, if he misses another tackle or two, he'll be gone. Yeah. And
Burrell over Brad Barrett?
I think so, yeah. Just in terms of sheer size and ball carrying.
Okay. Moving on to the next question, it's quite a consistent theme. Sam Burgess gets brought up a lot in questions and anything rugby news at the moment, it seems. But @Romanes asks, would you take Sam Burgess to the World Cup?
I definitely would take him, yeah. I think he could be a fantastic impact player. I think he could also start at blindside for England. I don't think he can play in the centre. I think we're very, very strong there. You could argue that he's a big bashing ball carrier, and defensively he could stand next to George Ford against the likes of Nonu and some of the big Australian centres. But it's a lot harder to play there, and as you've seen with Bath, he's performed a lot better at 6 than he has at 12.
Right, so you think that Lancaster will be looking at him as a 6, or both, or how?
I think he's very similar to Messam that plays for New Zealand. I think that he runs around, he just clatters people, he's got great work, great energy, physicality, and he would add a different dimension to that back line, a good balance, to the back row, a good balance.
Okay, interesting. And I guess other talking points around players selection, Danny Cipriani seems to make the headlines a lot for whether he will get in the Rugby World Cup or not. Do you think he'll make the squad?
I'm sure Danny just wants a peaceful entry into this World Cup squad rather than people saying will he get in or not. He's played well for Sale, played particularly well against the Barbars, crashed his car the day after, which probably didn't help him, but I don't think he'll make the squad. I'd be surprised, because will they take 3 10s? They might take 3 10s, but I'd be surprised. So I'm going to say he's going to miss out, and he'll probably be the biggest name casualty in terms of the public looking at it.
Okay. Any other big names that you could see potentially missing out?
Maybe Tom Croft could go. Okay. Had the injury-filled year. Depends on how his camp's gone. Has he got through it particularly well? But he could be another big name. Everyone knows what Crofty can do. It was sensational for Stuart Lancaster 2 seasons ago. But he's just had too long out with injury, maybe. Maybe, I don't know, depends how the coaches view him. But if England do decide to play this really high-speed, high-tempo game, lots of line-out steals, then Croft is the ideal candidate for 6.
Okay. Just going back onto Danny Cipriani, it's a difficult subject, I guess, and difficult comparison to make, but people are drawing conclusions a little bit from the Manu situation, where he was, found guilty of assault or whatever it may be, misses out in the World Cup. Danny Cipriani's got himself into some trouble. His case has been delayed. His judgment has been delayed, which means he makes the World Cup. Yeah. What were your thoughts on that? Is that fair? Is that...
Well, first of all, I don't know the legalities on the Cipriani case. I don't know. I know he's been rebailed, but that's all we know. Manu obviously was convicted of assault and fined, and in my sort of reckoning, if you're only fined after assaulting 2 police officers, it can't have been a major assault, for want of a better phrase. I was surprised that Stuart Lancaster reacted in the way that he did, and people give him credit for it. I think Manu would have been a huge asset had he been fit to this World Cup squad.
Okay. Other talking points of players, Jamie George has obviously come in for Dylan.
Yeah.
Do you think he could have an impact this World Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one thing for Dylan first having misdemeanors off the field, but it's another thing being uncontrollable on the field. You can really let your teammates down and lose games. And Jamie George has come from nowhere, but he's been brilliant all year for Saracens. He's been one of their best players, and actually by right potentially should have been there maybe before Luke Cowan-Dickey in terms of selection. Was overlooked. He's got his chance now. They'll definitely take 3 hookers in that squad, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs, and he'll definitely get a shot in a warm-up game, you'd have thought. I said that, watch him get called on Friday.
You are on record here.
I'm on call watch.
Yeah, exactly. Last talking point around the England squad, which I want to just talk about, is Ford versus Farrell. You know, you've said Ford picks himself.
Yeah, there's no competition.
Okay.
Now. 12 months ago, you'd have argued that it really was a tough decision. But I think that actually Farrell played very, very well when he found his fitness and form at the end of the season. But Ford has been sensational all year and controls England's attacking game, as we saw in the last game of the Six Nations against France. And I think England, if you believe what's been read in the press, will go into these games looking to run other sides ragged.